knit by golden head like two pigeons in one nest. Folded in each other's wings, they lay down in their curtained bed, like two blossoms on a stem, like two flakes of a new fallen snow, like two wands of ivory tipped with gold of awful kings. We see that the bond between the two sisters is shown. They are intimate with each other as if almost inseparable. They are described as two pigeons in a single nest. This is a hint of compatible partnership between the two sisters Laura and Lizzy. Rossetti continues with a set of similes to describe how close this sisterly bond was. We see that the kings here are called awful because ivory is obtained from the tusks of elephant, which was very popular during the Victorian period. The kings who possessed the ivory were actually very cruel because they had to kill the elephant in order to obtain the ivory. So the description focuses on the concept of sisterhood, which was taken further and developed by the feminists later on. Their home is described as a nest, and it is still seen as an uncorrupted nest, uncorrupted by the intrusion of any male figure, because it is a pure bond where no concept of domination exists. So this is a pristine paradise that is described here as these two sisters sleep on a same bed. Moon and stars gazed at them, wind sang to them lullaby, lumbering owls forebore to fly, not a bat flapped to and fro, round their rest, cheek to cheek and breast to breast, locked together in one nest. So already I have mentioned that this is an uncorrupted nest, and these two sisters, they have a very intimate bond and they are almost inseparable on the bed as they are sleeping. The nature also does not want to disturb their sleep. So no bat is flying here and there to disturb the sleep of them, and even the wind sang a lullaby to them. Early in the morning, when the first cock crowed his warning, neat like bees, as sweet and busy, Laura rose with Lizzy, fetched in honey, milked the cows, aired and set so to rights the house, kneaded cakes of whitest wheat, cakes for dainty mouths to eat. Next churned butter, whipped up cream, fed their poultry, sat and sewed, talked as modest maidens should. Lizzy with an open heart, Laura in an absent dream. One content, one sick in part, one warbling for the mere bright day's delight, one longing for the night. We see that these two sisters, they wake up in the morning and they start their domestic chores. They do a lot of work throughout the day. The domestic works they do, they suggest women's space at the home. These two women, they obediently follow the codes of society to be a good homemaker. And there is one line, talked as modest women should. The word should is noticeable. Lizzy is content and peaceful, and Laura is absent-minded and sick in part. So the element of addiction has already started to work on Laura. Laura is not completely present there. She is not completely focusing on her domestic work. At home, Laura and Lizzy are shown as equals. But after that, it is shown that there is a difference. Why? This is because of some external interference. Laura experienced something with the goblin men, and Lizzy was shielded from that experience. So naturally, the effect of that experience is shown on Laura in the day of our life. So she is absent-minded, she is longing for the night to approach so that she can meet the goblin men again and have the same experience she enjoyed the previous evening. At length slow evening came. They went with pitchers to the ready brook, Lizzy most placid in her look, Laura most like a leaping flame. When the evening is approaching, these two sisters, they go to fetch water from the nearby brook. So the word placid means when you are satisfied, content and not experiencing anything. And Laura is described as a flame. We can see the difference between the two sisters. One is content with the situation she is in, and another one is like a flame. Maybe the flame is the flame of desire. They drew the gargling water from its deep. Lizzy plucked purple and rich golden flags. Then, turning homeward, said, "The sunset flushes these farthest loftiest crags. Come, Laura, not another maiden lags. No wilful squirrel wags. The beasts and birds are fast asleep." But Laura loitered still among the rushes and said the bank was steep. Lizzy notices the sunset. She wants Laura to accompany her back home. And she said that the world of nature has gone to sleep and it is not safe for them to loiter out anymore. Laura deliberately wants to pause and she wants to wait, and because she is expecting something. So the feeling of constant waiting is already started on the part of Laura. So Laura wants Lizzy to wait with her and said the hour was early still, the dew not fallen, the wind not chill, listening ever but not catching the customary cry, "Come by, come by," with its literate jingle of sugar-baited words. Not for all her watching, once discerning even one goblin, racing, whisking, tumbling, hobbling, let alone herd, that used to tramp along the glen, in groups or single, of brisk fruit merchant men. Laura wants to wait for the goblins, but she fails to see any of the goblin men. So she is expecting them, but she is disappointed. So this is something very funny now. Now Laura is freaking out. What has happened? Why can't she find the goblin men? Till Lizzy urged, "Oh Laura, come. I hear the fruit call, but I dare not look. You should not loiter longer at this brook. Come with me home." The star rise, the moon bends her arc. Each glowworm wings her spark. Let us get home before the night grows dark, for clouds may gather. Though this is summer weather, put out the lights and drench us through. Then if we lost our way, what should we do? Lizzy is warning Laura. She says that she can still the goblin men with their customary cry, "Come by, come by." She says that it is not safe out anymore, and the dusk is approaching and it is cloudy. So Lizzy is panicked that she might lose her way. Here there is losing the honor is indicated, because it is an important element while judging a woman. So not only in Victorian time but even today, women are still scared that the evenings are not good for them, and they think that if they cannot behave according to the societal demands, they will be judged in a certain way. So the social norms and the social codes are imposed on women. Laura turned cold as stone to find her sister, heard the cry alone, that goblin cry, "Come buy your fruits, come buy." Must she then buy no more such dainty fruit? Must she no more such pasture find? Gone deaf or blind? Her tree of life drooped from the root, but she said not one word in her heart's sore ache, but peering through the dimness, not discerning, trudged home, her pitcher dripping all the way. So crept in bed and lay silent till Lizzy slept, then sat up in a passionate yearning and gnashed her teeth for bulk desire and wept as if her heart would break. So Laura, we see that is panicked, that why Lizzy can still hear the goblin men's cry and she cannot. So she is panicked to think that the world of goblin is no longer available to her. So this is the same kind of yearning of a drug addict. So Laura starts to become depressed that she won't be able to enjoy the fruits anymore. Whatever enjoyment she had before, she won't be able to have it ever again. We see that there is a word not discerning. That means that she could not see anything. She goes home now, and she goes home absent-mindedly. We see that the word pitcher dripping is mentioned, the absent-minded state of Laura. So she does not fall asleep. She just lies down. And when Lizzy falls asleep, Laura gets up and cries a lot. This is where Laura gets alienated. She cannot share the pain she is suffering from with her sister, and Lizzy has no idea what Laura is going through. So she is burdened by her own sin and she cannot communicate with anybody. Here is a tragedy because alienation is the only thing that makes a tragedy possible. Day after day, night after night, Laura kept watching in vain in sullen silence of exceed pain. She never caught again the goblin cry, "Come by, come by." She never spied the goblin men hawking their fruits along the glen. But when the noon waxed bright, her hair grew thin and grey. She dwindled as the fair moon doth turn to swift decay and burn her fire away. Laura wants to go out and buy the fruits, and she keeps vigil, but without any success. She can never spot a goblin man, and the flame she had, the flame that was described previously, that she is like a flame, the flame she had, that is dying slowly. So we see that her hair turns grey. So from golden hair to the grey hair, and her flame extinguished. The things that happened to Ginny once started happening with Laura. One day, remembering her kernel stone, she set it by a wall that faced the south, dewed it with tears, hoped for a root, watched for a waxing shoot. But there came none. It never saw the sun. It never felt the trickling moisture run. While with sunk eyes and faded mouth, she dreamed of melons as the traveller sees false waves in desert drought, with shade of leaf crowning trees, and burns the thirstier in the sandful breeze. Remember, Laura brought one seed with her. She one day remembers that she still has that seed. So she plants that seed in hope of getting a plant. But that seed does not sprout. So Laura dreams of fruits the way a traveler in the desert dreams of getting water. In the same way, Laura dreams of fruit, and that dreaming, that desire, makes her even thirstier. She no more swept the house, tended the fowls or cows, fetched honey, kneaded cakes of wheat, brought water from the brook, but sat down listless in the chimney nook and would not eat. So Laura stops doing all the domestic chores she used to do before. The course of society imposed on women are questioned and brought to focus here. So when someone is corrupted by the goblin men, that person becomes unmaidenly. So they lose connection with the household work which they would otherwise enjoy, or those works were otherwise their duty. Tender Lizzy could not bear to watch her sister's cankerous care, yet not to share, she night and morning caught the goblin's cry, "Come by our orchard fruits, come by, come by." Beside the brook along the glen, she heard the tramp of goblin men, yet the yoke and stir poor Laura could not hear. Longed to buy fruit to comfort her, but feared to pay too dear. The word cankerous means like a sore or like an ulcer. Lizzy was upset too. She never wanted Laura to suffer so much. So Laura has become a closed book and Lizzy could no longer read her. Apart from the first day when Laura came back and told Lizzy about all the experiences she had become a tight compartment now. But the goblins are still audible to Lizzy. So the question can be asked, why the goblins are still audible to Lizzy? Why could not Laura hear them? So was it because the goblins lost interest in Laura when Laura is corrupted? Were they looking for fresh meat? Or were they only interested in virginity? So once temptation gets its victim, it just moves on to the next victim. Probably that is why Laura cannot hear the goblins cry. One word is used for the price, that is dear, that is too expensive. Lizzy wants to buy food for Laura to comfort her, but she is too afraid that the payment will be too high for her. Here the payment is not monetary, we have already seen that. Here the payment is something more spiritual. The price of paying with her soul might harm her completely. It might destabilize her normalcy and she is too scared to go out and buy. She thought of Ginny in her grave, who would have been a bride, but who for joy's bride hoped to have, fell sick and died in her gay prime, in earliest winter time, with the first glazing rime, with the first snowfall of crisp winter time. Lizzy remembers about Ginny. Ginny also had tasted the fruits of the goblins. So there is a direct statement that the consumption of the goblin men's fruit brought Lizzy a kind of pleasure that a bride might enjoy. This can be a hint at the sexual pleasure. So Ginny suffered because she wanted to have something which the brides will have. So questions of morality is coming here. Premarital sex. Till Laura dwindling seemed knocking at death's door, when Lizzy weighed no more, better or worse, but put a silver penny in her purse, kissed Laura, crossed the heath with clumps of firs, at twilight halted by the brook, and for the first time in her life, Lizzy began to listen and look. There is a word used, dwindling, that means gradually diminishing in strength. So Laura is going through the worst phase and it is a tough decision for Lizzy. Lizzy made the decision, she goes out to seek the goblin men. So what Laura did in the beginning, she was curious, she wanted to listen. Now that is the same thing Lizzy is doing right now. Again the word choosing is used. She chooses to listen and look at the goblin men. Laughed every goblin when they spied her peeping, came towards her hobbling, flying, running, leaping, puffing and blowing, chuckling, clapping, crowing, clucking and gobbling, moping and mowing, full of airs and graces, pulling wry faces, demure grimaces, cat-like and rat-like, rattle and wombat-like, snail-paced in hurry, parrot-voiced and whistler, helter-skelter hurry-scurry, chattering like magpies, fluttering like pigeons, gliding like fishes, hugged her and kissed her, squeezed her and caressed her, stretched up their dishes, panniers and plates. Look at our apples, russet and dun, bob at our cherries, bite at our peaches, citrons and dates, grapes for asking, pears red with basking, out in the sun, plums on their twigs, pluck them and suck them, pomegranate and figs. This is what the goblin men want to do. They want to bring more people into their folds of their temptation. They are happy and that they are successful in drawing Lizzy out of her house, out of her bothered security. So again we get the description of the goblin, and the description of the goblins we see fluttery words, sweet, light and fun-filled words. These are not words where there are elements of foreboding. These are not the words which show any evil. So temptation does not look like something evil. It looks like something you want to have. The goblins are giving all kind of expression of fun and teasing. They are enthusiastic when Lizzy has come. So there is a repetition in description of goblin men. The element of repetition is a potent device in narrative style. It is to give that fairy tale-like air. The goblins advertise the fruits they have. So the way they are describing the fruits, they are like sexual images or sexual organs. Good folks, said Lizzy, mindful of Ginny, give me much and many. Held to her apron, tossed her penny. Nay, take a sit with us, honor and eat with us. They answered, grinning, our feast is but beginning. Lizzy has not forgotten about Ginny. This is unlike Laura. When Laura approached the goblin men, she did not remember what happened to Ginny. But Lizzy is mindful. So what she wants to do, she wants it a fair economic transaction. She gives them the silver penny she brought, and she spreads her apron asking for as many fruits they can offer in exchange of that silver coin. But the goblins are not only interested to sell their fruits, they just want Lizzy to experience the taste. They are not selling the object called fruit, they are selling the experience of taste. So the word taste is very important. Remember, in Paradise Lost Book 1 Invocation, the words are mentioned that whose mortal taste brought death into the world and all are woe. So this taste is something the goblins want to sell. So the experience of sitting down with the goblin men is more than just slicing the fruit and eat. So they want Lizzy to have a seat with them and enjoy the fruit, and their feast is only beginning. Night yet is early, warm and dew pearly, wakeful and starry. Such fruits as these no man can carry. Half their bloom would fly, half their dew would dry, half their flavor would pass by. So they say that these are the kind of fruits they cannot be carried, and they will not taste good if they are taken home. So they are creating a sense of urgency in Lizzy to taste the fruits then and there. Sit down and feast with us, be a welcome guest with us, cheer you and rest with us. Thank you, said Lizzy, but one waits at home alone for me. So without further parleying, if you will not sell me any of your fruits, though much and many, give me back my silver penny. I tossed you for a fee. The word parleying means discussing. So she says directly to the goblin men that if they do not want to sell the fruits, they should give her the money back. It is very obvious that she does not want to sit and taste the fruits then and there. So no matter how much persuading the goblins try to make, they are not successful. So what happens after that? They began to scratch their pates, no longer wagging, purring, but visibly demurring, grunting and snarling. One called her proud, cross-grained, uncivil. Their tones waxed loud, their looks were evil. Lashing their tails, they trod and hustled her, elbowed and jostled her, clawed with their nails, barking, mewing, hissing, mocking, tore her gown and soiled her stockings, twitched her hair out by the roots, stamped upon her tender feet, held her hands and squeezed their fruits against her mouth to make her eat. As soon as Lizzy says that she is not willing to taste the fruits there and she just wants to buy the fruit and carry them home, and if the goblins do not want to sell the fruits, they should give the money back. The expression of the goblins changed suddenly. So they are not friendly looking anymore. So they attack her physically. So So almost like a gang rape, Lizzy is about to suffer. So we see that her gown is torn, her stocking is soiled. These are physical abuses Lizzy goes through. Someone stamps on her feet. They exert force on Lizzy to make her eat. When Laura came, they did not show any force because Laura willingly participated. But Lizzy gives no consent, and that is why they force. So they physically attack her and they are trying to force feed Lizzy.